Hey guys, Living Visionary here, and today we're going to be reviewing Children of Blood and Bone. This was, it's a pretty cool book. Now, if you don't know, Children of Blood and Bone is a 2018 YA fantasy novel made by Tommy Adeyemi. Now, it's the first book in a trilogy, and it's basically about a group of people called Magi, or Magi, I'm not entirely sure the pronunciation, but it's about this group of people who used to have magic. But someday randomly out of nowhere, they lose their magic. And because they lose their magic, they essentially become oppressed by all the people who didn't have magic before, who was scared of them. A girl named Zélie goes on an entire quest because apparently the gods chose her to do this, to go and basically bring back magic to all of the world. This book doesn't actually do much that's considered different for YA fantasy, but I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. The only main thing that's different from the normal YA fantasy is the fact that this is very based in like Yoruba culture, which if you care about that culture, then this could be very important to you, and it can be very different because there's not too many books like that. So that it does get originality points for that for me, simply because this is the first time I've read anything like that though. I really like the words used to help create the setting. I love how I feel like I can see everything in the book. I can see every store they pass, especially when they go to Lagos. I love how we can see basically all the stores, all the events, all the people. Everything seems so vivid in my mind. Every time there's a fight, we basically see how the fight intertwines with all the area around it to basically better help us with the imagery of the entire battlefield. Every time an animal goes by, you can see them swinging through trees to better help us vision the forest that they're in. It's just, I think that there's a lot of nice imagery in this entire book and it really does wonders for the entire setting. Okay, so let's move on to characters. Alright, so Zélie. I really liked Zélie. I liked how she was a screw-up for the entire book. And because she is a screw-up, when she knows that she's a screw-up, she tries to prove herself. And not only, she doesn't try to prove her own worth, but the worth of her entire race, because they're basically all oppressed. I like how desperate she gets in order to try to fix those. How when she does make some mistakes, that she gets crazy. Sometimes, like at one point, she almost killed someone. Someone she actually needed to help her out with basically fixing her mistakes. She almost kills them because she gets so desperate and she doesn't really think straight, forcing her to mess up even more. And that's another thing I like about Zélie. I like her emotion, her passion, how angry she is, how bitter she is towards the world, and I like whenever she truly shows that off. There's another point in the book where she almost kills Amari just from how angry she gets. She almost throws her into the fire because she doesn't give a shit. The only thing I didn't love about her character was the romantic subplot with Inan. I hated it. I hated it so much. It was annoying, it didn't make any sense. This is a dude who tries to kill her the entire book, cause her suffering, burns down her village, causes the death of her father basically, and now all of a sudden she wants to smash him, and it doesn't make any sense to me. The only relationship that I did like with her was with her and Amari, because their relationship just flourished so amazingly, from going from full hatred to being almost like best friends. Zélie is also interesting because of all the pain that she goes through by the end of this book. She just suffers so much. Like all the scars that she gets, basically everything's gonna follow her for the rest of her life. And I honestly can't wait to see how she goes and lives with it throughout the rest of the books, because I know it's all gonna follow her through the rest of the books. Another character that I liked in this book was Amari, even though in the beginning I found her absolutely insufferable. I thought she was worthless. She only dragged the team down. Inan, with his perspective, always explained her as being just character who was just there, never stood up for herself. And I'm pretty sure there's a scene or two where the protagonist tries to kill her because she's worthless. But as the book went on, I started to sympathize with her because, she wasn't all that worthless. We saw that she actually was a human. She wasn't just a spoiled princess. She did have her fair share of scars, and she's been through stuff, And also, earlier in the book, we also learned that she needs to be here in order to help perform the ritual to bring back magic, which was interesting at first until at the end you realize that you don't really actually need her, because if you read the book, you know exactly what happened, where Zélie had to do her own thing in order to bring magic back. But it didn't bother me too much that Amari wasn't in that process, because she kind of proved herself far far before the scene even started. Throughout the book, she tries to basically force herself to become more commanding, to become more brave. She stumbles with this goal a lot, but she proves herself over and over again, so often to the point where she truly does become my favorite character by the end of the book. I also didn't mind the romantic subplot between her and Tzain. Speaking of which, Tzain was really cool. I liked his character because he liked his sister so much. He basically cared for her so much. He was always really tough on her, but he was only tough on her because she made a lot of dumb mistakes, and her dumb mistakes could cost her her life, and he didn't want to lose her. He's also an amazing strategist. He's level-headed. He puts others before himself. Also, the main thing that I love about him is the fact that he hates Inan, which is something that I also do. That I believe everyone who's read this book hates Inan, so the fact that Tzain's the only one who truly hates him, like how we hate him, it also just gives him a lot of points up for as a character because of it. And speaking of Inan, I really had a lot of hopes for this character. I wanted to like him, but as the story progressed, I just kept hating him more and more. At first, I liked the entire subplot with him getting his own magic somehow, which it didn't make much sense on how he did it, but he got it. But I actually still thought it was cool. I liked him getting the magic because I thought it was really dangerous. And I'm like, whoa, if he's gonna be a villain, then that means the hero's gonna have to face someone who could like mind control them and freaking explode their brains from the inside out and turn into like crystal jelly or whatever he was doing to the other characters. But the problem with that is the fact that he never uses it against anyone. I mean, like, he just uses it by accident. In the rest of the book, he's always pushing it deep down with himself so he doesn't actually use it when it could very much help him take down the main characters. This could have been very tense, but for some reason he doesn't do anything with it. He's constantly talking trash on magic, saying that it makes him sick, that he doesn't ever want to use it, even though it could help him easily with every situation he's in, be an extremely OP character, but he doesn't ever want to use it because he's always talking down on it. Like, continuously, every scene he's just talking down on it, or he's saying that he needs to put or Shira over himself, or he's just thinking about how much he wants to smash the protagonist. And it gets annoying because it's so repetitive. He just says the same things over and over and over again. And in the middle of the book, it basically seems like they try to redeem him by making him stop constantly talking about how much he hates magic. He starts to accept it, and he also starts to become a good person. But he just kind of goes back on everything for some reason, because, you know, his father basically would want it that way. He also just fears magic, but it doesn't really feel natural. He just goes back on literally everything. And I don't actually have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with him betraying everyone. I don't have a problem with him even breaking the main character's heart. I think it could have been cool, but the book wants us to feel sorry for him, and that's the main problem. It's like the author wants us to feel sorry for him, but he's just such a fucking terrible person. He promises to try to protect her, but he doesn't do anything when his father tortures her, not because he can't, but because he's scared. When he promises to basically bring magic back, he just decides to not do that. He decides to kill magic again, just because he's scared. And he does all of this. He betrays her. After making love to her in their weird, interconnected, wet dream, he does all of that and just betrays her, but then still asks us to forgive him. He still acts like he's a good person, that he's a sympathetic character, but he's not. He's just terrible. And it's all just so frustrating. Alright, but enough of the characters. Let's talk about the plot. I like the whole entire class war that happens between the dark-skinned, lower-class diviners and the light-skinned, royal nobles. It's all so on the nose. They don't try to hide it at all, and I love it for that. And when you look at the author's notes, basically seeing on how basically a lot of the book is basically based on police brutality in real life, where you see the guards constantly harassing all of the diviners. You see how it mixes very well, and I really like that message that goes throughout the entire plot. I like the threat that magic holds in the world because it seems to make the king terrified, and all the main characters believe that's going to solve every single problem that they ever had. So I think the stakes in the story of trying to bring magic back are pretty big. There are a lot of exciting scenes where you see, like, there are fights, there are chase scenes. Even seeing the main character haggle people on the price of fish, even that is exciting to see in the book. But I think my favorite part of all, with the most page-turning moments, was when Amari and Tzain would get kidnapped later in the book. Simply because the teamwork between Zélie and Inan is so wonderful, and seeing all that tension, because originally I thought that they were gonna like try to kill each other in the end because of the tension, but they just, you know, fell in love, so, you know, that started to get annoying. And that leads into the romantic subplots, which I didn't really like because there were too many. There were too many. Like, I didn't mind Amari and Tzain, but like there's just, both of them didn't really need to happen, especially Zélie and Inan. Those really just shouldn't have never happened, but I've already gone into how much I don't like that, so, you know, well, let's just move to the end. Now, when it comes to the actual ending of this book, I really enjoyed it. I love the anime berserker form that Zélie went into when she was just killing everyone in the freaking temple. I loved how Amari had the entire sword fight with her father and killed him because, you know, she rightly so was able to deliver the finishing blow, and I absolutely loved that. I also loved how Inan got stabbed, and I really hope he's dead. And I also thought that the cliffhanger was a pretty good one, and I honestly can't wait to read the rest of it, the rest of the series, with Children of Vengeance and Virtue, which I will be reading, and when I do, I'll give a review on that. All in all, I'd have to rank this book like a 7.5 out of 10. I actually really liked it, but the thing that really brought it down for me was the romantic subplots, and of course Inan. Inan really did take like half a star away from this for me. But that's just my thoughts. I would like to know what your thoughts are. Please, if you agreed or disagreed, please say them down in the comments. If you liked the video, then, you know, maybe give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more. And yeah, see ya.